Hey everyone, so here is the authentication completely done. We're using auth.js. It's the same library that OpenAI uses in ChatGPT. So you know it's pretty secure and very scalable, right? ChatGPT has millions of users, so it'll work for us in our use case, right? There's still some tweaks that I want to do with like the configuration of auth.js, but that's an iterative process. Software engineering is all about iteration and nothing's gonna stay there permanently. So yeah, it's fine for now. I got the core features down, so that's like the most important part of this, right? So here it is. So if you try to go to any of the unauthorized pages, so these unauthorized pages are the dashboard, the shop page, the math, and then the reading and writing page. So if you try to go to these, and then there's the other ones too, which will be added again, iterative process, right? Like the cash out, the miscellaneous, like the redeem feature. um Basically any of the routes that need users, it'll be unauthorized. And so if you try to go without being logged in, without having a proper session, if you try to go to any of these, it won't let you. Like it'll just literally just say unauthorized, right? About is, you don't really need to be a user for that. Like anybody can look at it, it's fine, right? So that's why I purposefully did not add it. It was designed in that way, right? But yeah, the other pages do need that, right? So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna simply press sign in. And once I press sign in, I'll be prompted with the Google sign in method, right? Within here, I can go ahead and pick my accounts. I'm going to pick my Hemit Patel account. Once I do this, if I now go to, like the homepage, you can see that it finally works. It's not giving me that unauthorized page. And it's quite fast, right? It's below 100 milliseconds, usually. Again, it really depends on your Wi-Fi and all that. But yeah, here it is. You can see everything. You can see your coins. You can see how many questions you got correct. And then if we now go to, like, let's say reading and writing, because that's not in beta, that's actually proper, it's like used properly. You can see if I get something correct, I get 50 points, right? I get something wrong, I can look at the editorial, I can, like, everything works properly, right? But now if I go back to the main panel, you can see that I do get my coins. This change, uh you know percentage thing, I'm gonna need to figure out like an algorithm that we can use. So for now I just have the number itself, but we'll fix that later on. But you can see here these ones actually work properly, and you can see that I have 3 questions wrong and 3 questions correct. Let me get a question correct here, and then you can see that I'll have 4 questions correct and then 3 questions wrong. So everything's working properly. The logic that's used in these in these two methods is a little bit flawed in my opinion. It could be a little bit better, just because it's O of n, like for the time complexity. So as more questions are added on, it's going to become much more slower, right? So I'm going to need to figure out something for that, but that's again iterative process. We'll get to there when we need to get to there, right? But for now, you can see everything's working perfectly. Some next steps, these are some features I'll be working on tomorrow. That is going to be the a rate limiter. So I'm not quite sure how I'm going to add the rate limiter. I might add it on the server itself, or I might use another service like an Nginx, right? I've done this before, so that's kind of cool. But we can use an Nginx web server. So it's this over here. We can use a reverse proxy of it. Basically, I'm thinking I'm probably going to implement that. Maybe we'll see. But basically, what that does is the user would go to the Nginx server. The Nginx server would redirect that user to this page, to the DailySAT website. But while it's doing that, it basically intercepts these requests, and within these requests, we can add in um, a API limiter, like a rate limiter, right? Basically, a rate limiter, in very simple terms, is when you have um, you basically limit the amount of requests allowed for certain things. So I'm gonna limit the request for. I'm probably not gonna use Nginx. I'm probably gonna use another solution. But anyways, the point is that I'm gonna try to limit the amount of requests going for to get the user information, because the user information is from the MongoDB database. So if I refresh this really quickly, don't mind this. This is just from like the duplicate. Don't mind that. That's just from debugging. But the point is that I'll actually delete this here. The point is that this data, this document is what's being shown here, right? We're getting that information directly from the database, but I don't want to keep like have the user keep refreshing, because every time they're refreshing, right, every time this is happening, there's a new API request being sent out, and that adds more hits to the database, which would lead to inefficiency and our limits being eaten up by the users. Simply, maybe they're trolls and they just keep refreshing to like hoard our services. I don't want that to happen, so we'll limit the amount of API requests, and during those limited times, so I'm not sure what time we'll have for just for testing purposes. I'll keep it at 2 requests per minute, or I'll say 2 requests per 5 minutes, right? And so between these 5 minute intervals, we'll actually have the data cached, and we'll have it cached within most likely um, a I'm thinking a memcache server. So we'll have it in a memcache server, maybe. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, again, this is all speculatory. That's the only thing I'm gonna be working on tomorrow, just so that it adds that little bit of more, like that more bit of efficiency to our program and less burden on our services, right? But yeah, we also have funding now, so that's good. Almost $600 United States, so that's pretty good. But yeah, so that's what I'm going to be doing. All right, that's the tomorrow's work, but I just want to kind of talk about it a little bit more in detail in video. I've written it down in the GitHub comments as well, but again, it's just more so that you can understand it. Well, it's better if I explain it, right? But yeah, that is it for me, and this is the DailySAT authentication system.